responsibility to ensure these commitments are respected. This is why our Commission prioritizes humanitarian aid and sub-Saharan Africa, where our action is most urgently needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleague. Before we proceed to the vote, we will check our machines if they are working. So we will do the test. I know you have already had your lunch, most of you. So the question will be, if you had fish for the lunch, you vote in favor. If you had no fish for the lunch, you vote against. And if you had not your lunch yet, some of you look like you didn't have lunch, you abstain. So let's vote. Vote is open. If you had no fish, you vote against. A vote is closed. And let's check if you eat healthy. Something wrong. Okay, Georgi, can you change your place, Georgi?
Yeah, I think that's working.
Thank you. Okay, so only 4 had fish for the lunch, 12 did not have fish for the lunch, and 4 did not have lunch. So we will be very fast with votes, so you can eat. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. I hope Georgi's card works.
I will do mainly show of
Yes, we will do mainly show of hands. Roll call vote will be the last one. So, okay, so we start with the votes, colleagues. Ready? Okay. So, amendment number 9, who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? Rejected. Amendment number 10, who is in favor? Who is against? Who abstains? I need to check it. It's not clear. I open the vote. I close the vote. And it's adopted. Amendment number 11, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Amendment number 12, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions rejected. Amendment number 13, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions. Well, I need to check it. I think it's rejected, but I check. I open the vote. I close the vote. Rejected. Amendment number 14, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions. Check. I check. Don't worry if I have doubts. I check. I open the vote. I close the vote. Rejected. Amendment number 15, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions rejected. Amendment number 16, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions. I check. I open the vote. I close the vote.
and it's adopted.
And it's adopted. Amendment number 18, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions. It's not clear, colleagues, so I check. I open the vote. 18. 18. Yeah, I close the vote.
Adopted.
And it's adopted, clearly adopted. Please show your hands. So amendment number 19, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Amendment number 20, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Amendment 21, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Compromise amendment 1, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Amendment 25, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Amendment 26, in favor? Against? Abstentions. I need to check it. I open the vote. I close the vote. Rejected. Compromise amendment 2, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions adopted. Amendment 28, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? We check. I open the vote. I close the vote. Adopted. Amendment 30, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? It's not clear again, colleagues. So I think it's rejected, but I open the vote. I close the vote. It's clearly adopted. Thank you. Amendment 31, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? Adopted. Amendment 32, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? We check. I open the vote. I close the vote. Adopted. Amendment 33, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? It's not clear again.
Okay.
I open the vote. I close the vote. Adopted. Amendment 34, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? We need to check again. I open the vote. I close the vote. Adopted. Amendment 35, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? We need to check again. I open the vote. Sorry, when it's so tight, we need to check. I close the vote. Adopted. Amendment 38, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? Adopted. Amendment 2, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? Rejected. Amendment 1, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? Rejected. Amendment 3, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? I need to check because it's not clear. I open the vote. I close the vote. Adopted. Amendment 4, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? It's not clear. I check. Open the vote. I close the vote. Oh, it's rejected. Amendment number 5, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? Adopted. Amendment number 6, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? We check. I open the vote. I close the vote. It's adopted. Amendment number 7, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? Adopted. Amendment number 8, who is in favor? Who is against? Abstentions? We check. I open the vote. I close the vote. And it's rejected. And the final vote is by roll call vote. I open the vote. And I close the vote. And it's adopted. Thank you very much, colleagues. And with this, we proceed to point number 9. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jasper. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We have a break now. Yeah.
You take up on board, huh?
Colleagues, dear members,
We were too quick with
hey,
the
hey,
vote. Too quick with the vote.
look, colleagues and friends, Robert was so quick
We were too
that
efficient.
we are able to take a break. You can grab a coffee because our guests will not yet arrive and we are going to start. And now I'm in the hands of the Secretariat.
3:15.
3:15.
Yeah.
Everybody got it? Break for two coffees. You can have two coffees. But please come back because the dialogue with the civil society organizations is of full importance in these days. 3:15. You can even have a sandwich or a smart
who didn't have lunch.
conversation.
Those who didn't have lunch can have lunch.
You deserve it. we are in a tricky situation because the coffee break was not very useful for our attendance rate today. We had half an hour break because the vote was so quick. We have excellent high-level people in the room. We have excellent CSO representative, excellent commission representatives who deserve a different kind of audience. And therefore, my proposal is that we postpone this meeting. The meeting will not happen now. We will find a new date where I hope that we can again count on you. Forgive us for this situation. It's not my political design or my political wish, but I am looking forward, we are looking forward to receiving you at another occasion. Now I am in the hands of Jesper because we have other points on the agenda. They will be
4:15.
dealt.
We reconvene at 4:15. Yes.
So the idea is to come back on 4:15 here, and you are all invited, colleagues are invited to be
And
back
members.
4:15. Thank you very much. Now this point on the agenda is closed.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, and I think that we should be starting with the next item on the agenda. It's good to see you all. And on this item, which is an exchange of views on a matter of urgent humanitarian concern, the impact of the cuts in U.S. aid on Afghanistan's earthquake recovery. Afghanistan remains one of the world's most fragile and crisis-affected countries. The recent earthquake has added yet another layer of devastation, affecting thousands of families, destroying homes, infrastructure, and critical services. The humanitarian needs are immense, from shelter and medical care to food security and water access. The resilience of affected communities is being tested severely. In this context, international aid is not just a matter of solidarity, but a lifeline. USAID has historically been a key donor in Afghanistan, supporting vital relief and recovery efforts. However, the recent decision by the US administration to reduce funding poses significant risks. These cuts threaten to undermine ongoing operations, delay recovery programs, and ultimately deepen the suffering of vulnerable populations who depend on external assistance. The reduction in USAID funding may create gaps that other donors and humanitarian actors, including the EU, will struggle to fill, risking a humanitarian setback at a time when coordinated support is most needed. It is therefore essential for us as the members of the European Parliament to understand these implications fully and to explore ways to respond effectively. Today we hear from Mrs. Mutinta Chimuka, Deputy Director of Afghanistan at the World Food Programme. Madam Chimuka brings direct field experience and insight into the challenges on the ground, as well as critical role of the humanitarian partners play in the earthquake recovery. Madam Chimuka is joining us remotely from Afghanistan. First, I would like to give the floor to the chair of the delegation to Afghanistan, though, Mrs. Raquel Garcia Hermida van der Valle, for intervention for 3 minutes. Raquel, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, dear Chair. Thank you, Abir. And thank you also to all the colleagues who are here this afternoon, and also to our distinguished speaker, who I'm looking very forward to listening to in just a couple of minutes. As Chair of the Delegation for the Relations with Afghanistan, we have been paying a lot of attention to the humanitarian situation on the ground, not only for the medium to long term, but obviously also for the last couple of weeks, a few weeks after the terrible earthquakes in eastern Afghanistan, which have left many, many victims behind and have shown what the impact of gender apartheid is also in a humanitarian situation, in a humanitarian crisis situation, as we know that some of the girls and women were not even allowed to be rescued because men could not touch them, and there were not sufficient female medical staff to help victims in need of medical attention. This is obviously not something which has happened overnight. This is the result of a much longer process, of which many of the distinguished guests will be aware of. But of course it is, and the aftermath of the earthquakes will be made worse by, as said in the introductory remarks, the withdrawal of USAID from Afghanistan. We know that we had already 409 of the 409 health organizations in Afghanistan. Many of them had to close the doors. We know that the population in need, which is currently at 22.9 million people, is only going to grow because of the withdrawal of USAID. We know that 14.3 million Afghans are in need of health assistance. That is 34% of the population. And we know that malnutrition is already at all-time high and is only going to get worse. also the situation of very vulnerable groups like pregnant and lactating women is extremely concerning, also in the field or with regards to malnutrition. I think that it's important to commend the European Commission for the committed aid for the next years, which will be very, very welcomed by the people in Afghanistan. I think it's also commendable that we are providing immediate relief in the aftermath of the earthquakes. I think the principled approach of the European Union is the way to go. And I also think that women and girls on the ground should be made part of any humanitarian aid which will be developing in the next few years. And I think that we as European Parliament should be relentless and uncommitting in our rejection of any help which does not help the most vulnerable. That being said, I look forward to the rest of the exchange. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Raquel, for your intervention and for the insights you're giving on behalf of the EP delegation to Afghanistan. Very interesting and indeed very, very important to enrich also the discussion. Ms. Chimuka, for this very help, I would like to thank you, first of all, for being here and taking the time. And thank you for the work that's been done by you and your team, of course, on the ground. And I would like to give the floor to you and invite you to give us your introduction and your intervention within the frame of 7 minutes. You can actually make it into 10 minutes. It's okay. It will be very, very interesting to also to listen to the details that maybe do not always make it to such of very formal interventions. Thank you, Mr. Chimuka, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellencies, honorable members and partners, thank you for allowing us the opportunity, myself and speaking on behalf of the World Food Programme Afghanistan, to speak to you today from Kabul, and of course for your continued interest in the situation in Afghanistan. Afghanistan today is at the epicenter of converging crises, an economy in collapse, prolonged drought, and repeated crop failures, particularly of rain-fed wheat, which have been compounded by destructive floods. And most recently, as you've already alluded to, on the 31st of August, we had a very strong earthquake in the east of the country, which claimed more than 2,150 lives and has left nearly half a million people in need of urgent assistance, from food to shelter to health concerns. On top of these shocks, the country is also experiencing one of the largest return movements in its history. Since January this year, nearly 2 million Afghans have returned from Pakistan and Iran, many stripped of their remittance income that once sustained their families. And I want to stress that some of these returns, the majority, are forced returns. A further 2 million are expected to return to Afghanistan in the coming months ahead, many of them returning to communities they don't know. A lot have been born outside of Afghanistan and they don't really know Afghanistan. So they're returning to a place they don't know, where jobs, services, and humanitarian support are often scarce or absent. The humanitarian needs in Afghanistan continue to be staggering. For food assistance, nearly 10 million people, which is 1 in 5 of the whole population, are facing extreme levels of acute food insecurity. And these include 1.6 million in emergency conditions. And as winter approaches, we expect this number to rise. And winter in Afghanistan starts quite early, depending on where you are. Already in the northeast of the country, there was first snowfall last week. So it's not something coming, it's already here in some parts. At the same time, Afghanistan is also facing a parallel nutrition emergency. This year, 3.5 million children under the age of 5 are malnourished. And mothers too, 1.2 million pregnant and breastfeeding women require treatment. And without this treatment in a timely fashion, we risk seeing more admissions and possibly avoidable deaths during the lean season. These needs are sharpened by funding cuts. The suspension of U.S. funding, combined with wider donor reductions, has driven extreme cuts in humanitarian food assistance. This means fewer people reached and fewer stocks pre-positioned ahead of winter. In Afghanistan for decades, the World Food Programme has been pre-positioning stocks in areas that are cut off during the winter. And this year, we are not able to do that due to the funding cuts. While the US withdrawal is significant, it's not the only driver of funding gaps for WFP. As many as 10 donors who supported WFP in 2023 and 2024 have not this year so far provided any funding to WFP in Afghanistan. And some of those who have provided less than they provided in past years. And without urgent action, our humanitarian funding will run out completely by November, which is just a month away. As has been alluded to, it is women and girls who bear the brunt. Restrictions on education, employment, and movement sever their access to income and services. For many, WFP's food assistance, nutrition care, and school meals are the only lifeline. The international community must not abandon Afghan women and girls. Their safety and dignity depend on sustained engagement. As some of you may know, since the 7th of September, our female staff, Afghan national women, have not been able to come to the office due to a recent clampdown or enforcement of the decrees from the de facto authorities banning women from the workplace. So this is putting severe pressure on the mental well-being of the colleagues who are continuing to work but from home. The one, light is that the women are still able to access field locations, including the earthquake zone in the east of the country. In Afghanistan, it's not just a humanitarian issue, it's also about stability. When women and girls are excluded, when families cannot feed their children, when returnees arrive to nothing, the social fabric frays, fragility deepens, and instability grows. Sustained engagement is therefore not just about supporting people in emergency settings, it's also about preventing further destabilization in a country already under immense strain. WFP continues the work across the humanitarian development nexus. This dual approach focuses on immediate humanitarian needs while building resilience by reinforcing integrated community-based resilience to promote recovery and build back better. It lessens the pressures that drive displacement and irregular migration. In a context as fragile as Afghanistan, where instability can spill across borders, this approach is essential for building national stability and regional security. WFP continues to deliver emergency food and cash to the most vulnerable, and we are really, really here because of funding, prioritizing the very, very most vulnerable. So we continue to deliver assistance to the most vulnerable, treat and prevent malnutrition for mothers and children, and support resilience. European Union support has been central across these pillars, including recent emergency funding and contributions that back climate-smart assets and school feeding. These actions reduce negative coping strategies such as selling assets, child labor, and early marriage. With limited resources, we are prioritizing, and I stress this again, prioritizing those most in need, especially as the winter lean season approaches, when more people will require assistance. For many, WFP's life-saving support will be the only means to survive. Our most urgent gap is the winter. Without immediate funding, WFP cannot pre-position food and specialize nutrition commodities in hard-to-reach areas before the mountain passes close due to the heavy snowfall that I had talked about earlier. Cuts at this scale will severely hinder any winter scale-up, leaving women, children, returnees, and earthquake-affected families without assistance at the peak of need. The cost of inaction could be measured in lost lives. We thank those donors, including the European Union, who've stepped up during the recent earthquake response, bringing much needed attention back to Afghanistan. But we must keep up the momentum. Supporting Afghanistan is not only a humanitarian imperative, it's an investment in stability in one of the world's most fragile contexts. When families have access to food and a sense of hope for the future, they are far less likely to turn to desperate measures, whether that means leaving the country through irregular migration or being drawn into the influence of armed groups. A stable Afghanistan means fewer forced movements and less regional insecurity. As you shape your global gateway and the 2028 to 2034 multi-annual financial framework, we urge you to keep Afghanistan a priority. Protect humanitarian funding investment in resilience and school feeding, and support joint UN programs that link immediate relief with long-term recovery. WFP stands ready to deliver with the support of the European Union so that women, men, and children in Afghanistan can get through the coming months with food on their table and a path to recovery when the snow clears and beyond. Thank you for your attention. And once again, thank you for your interest and support to Afghanistan. I look forward to the interaction that we'll be going to next, and hopefully give you some more nuance of what's happening on the ground here in Afghanistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chimuka, for your intervention. That was really a description, a momentary description, a slide into the situation in Afghanistan. And of course, we are following the events with the earthquake very closely, but in general, the crackdown on human rights, in particular on women's and girls' rights. And it has been unfortunate, to say the least, to follow the events and the development in the country. I would like to open up the floor to our groups and the coordinators. If there are any questions, I would like to start with Mr. Charles Groans, who is the... Har vi andra? Har vi andra än...
Ja, Erik.
Ja, men någon annan som har större grupp?
Nej.
Okay, to Mr. Charles Groans, from the coordinator from the Renew Group. Please, Mr. Groans, the floor is yours.
Oui, merci. On est terrifié quand on entend ces nouvelles, ce qui se passe sur le terrain. Donc, si j'ai bien compris, outre l'aide humanitaire, rien en matière de développement proprement dit n'est possible en Afghanistan. Est-ce que la représentante du World Food Programme voit une possibilité à plus ou moins courte échéance de relancer des programmes de développement? Et c'est oui, lesquels? Le développement rural intégré, par exemple, le développement, les projets de développement visant à améliorer la vie des femmes. Je vois franchement avec les partenaires afghans, et les partenaires, ce sont les talibans, ce qu'on pourrait avoir en retour de notre proposition. Nous avons une offre qui serait prête à améliorer la situation, mais encore faut-il que le récipiendaire soit prêt, et soit prêt à accepter d'améliorer tant soit peu la vie des femmes. Enfin, on est dégoûté, on est consterné par ce que l'on entend. Donc, est-ce que vous avez un peu d'espoir à nous donner? On aimerait tellement être dépositaire de nouvelles moins déroutantes que celles que nous venons d'entendre.
Thank you so much, dear Mr. Groans. And I will also give the floor to Mr. Eric Marquette, who is the MEP from the Greens. If you have any question, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thanks a lot. Also, for the insightful contribution from our guest. I have several questions. First one is, I heard and read some reports that rightly after the earthquake, some emergency measures were like hindered, and it was not possible to rescue women. And these reports, on the other hand, I heard that it's just fake news or whatever. So, like, maybe you have some insights on this matter. Second question is, like, how are your working conditions there at the moment, also with the Taliban? I understand the funding issue, but how are the working conditions in general? And that's connected also to the third question, like working conditions also as women in humanitarian aid organizations, for example. And that's connected also to the third question. I understand that there is a big funding issue, and in the end, money is not everything, but without money, it's also hard to deliver something. And in this special situations where we are in Afghanistan, but actually also in Europe, from my perspective, let me leave this short comment here that I would like the majority voting down our positions on development funding and humanitarian aid funding. As a committee, I would like to listen to them also on this immediate need in Afghanistan and other countries, because I think it's a little bit like underrated, or it's not that I have the feeling that many people don't care about Afghanistan at the moment. They're caring about themselves in Europe, and I think the selfishness is at least like not the Europe I want to have. So I understand the funding issue, but what else could help from political point of view? So what else can we advocate for?
Yes, thank you so much, dear colleague. I will give the floor to Madam Chimuka for answers, and then I will open the floor because we have two more MEPs who would like also to ask questions. So please, Madam Chimuka, the floor is yours.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the questions. On the first question, we did focus on the humanitarian situation in the presentation or in the brief. But indeed, WFP and others in Afghanistan are able to work on what we would call, on the spectrum of going towards development. So on what we would call, resilience building, helping people to build irrigation canals, helping people to build culverts so that their crops are not damaged by flood. By rains and floods, so that at least when they grow their crops, they don't lose them by devastating floods and the like that we are talking about. We also have, thanks to support from partners, including the European Union, we do have some activities where we support women on skills building, and these activities are really, really focused on women. So we have a range of activities that are done with our cooperating partners, things like making jewelry, making carpets and different kinds of commodities that they can sell and make an income from. They also have things like helping them to produce mushrooms that they can dry and then sell and have an income and get them on their own feet and not relying on international assistance or local assistance. So we are working on those kind of projects in parallel with addressing humanitarian needs, including things like the earthquake. So there is the opportunity for resilience building. And as we talked about earlier, the economic situation in Afghanistan is really quite bad. So we need to be able to create jobs for men and women who then can have their small businesses. And this is what we are doing here in Afghanistan. And we would be able to share more with you on those in particular, including through our Brussels office if necessary. On the second intervention from the gentleman from the Greens, I was last week myself in the earthquake-affected zone last Sunday, and this was one of the questions that was also asked to the authorities. But what I can say in this case is that this is not what we have learned here in Afghanistan. What is true is that the eastern part of the country is a very, very conservative part of the country. So indeed, maybe there would not have been a lot of female health workers, but we do not have any news whatsoever that people were left to die because they were female. That is not, as far as we are concerned, correct. On working conditions, thank you so much. We talked about the recent enforcement of the decrees that's coming from the Taliban, from the DFA. This is not, unfortunately, it's not the first time. As I think the House, the members are aware, according to the DFA laws and their decrees, women are not supposed to be in the workplace. The World Food Programme, other partners on the ground have been working really, really very hard to make sure that we have women in the office. And we have had women in the office, and then unfortunately we have, like, can I call them stop and start, where ladies come to the office, they work, and then after a few months, then the decrees are enforced. So this one has been quite severe, and it's impacting the whole country. Previously, we had Kabul sort of freer, and ladies were coming to the office, but unfortunately, even in Kabul now, the ladies are not coming to the office. But I want to stress that they're able to go to earthquake-affected zones and places. I think the UN community led by the SRSG here has been having very high-level discussions with the de facto authorities to break this impasse. What has not been easy is to have that dialogue with Kandahar. And when the gentleman was saying what else is needed, what is really needed is friends, if I can call them that in inverted commas, regional partners who can have the ear of Kandahar, of the supreme leader, as he's called, to really make the point clear that this is something that is something that we don't want to see continue. It needs to end. So I think it really does need that political dialogue at the very highest levels to get to Kandahar and have people who are those that he can listen to make sure that there is a change. And so we're hoping those partners, and we hope that through political dialogue at the European Union level, there are some interlocutors that you can talk to who can also reach the ear of Kandahar. Because right now, without that political push, we can still get assistance to men and women in Afghanistan, and we can have female workers in the field, but the space is shrinking, and it's really the moment to make sure that we really push on this agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your intervention. And I have also with me a colleague from the Social Democratic Group, Mr. Marit Mali. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. I think you have answered a number of the questions that I have already, but there's two things maybe that I want to put forward to you. One is about the food scarcity that you have mentioned, and I understand that it's almost 10 million people that are food insecure, of which more than half are women and children also included in those 10 million. And you also mentioned that winter is coming and it's going to be more difficult. Now we know that when the food insecurity is higher, this has an extra effect also on women. Can you explain maybe on what you do and how you try to reach them? I understand that you have female workers, but I also understand from other organizations working in Afghanistan that it's really, really difficult for those women to be reached. So what is your strategy to reach the population that you need to reach? And secondly, you said that you worked with women to build skills, to make sure that they can go to markets. Some areas in Afghanistan are less conservative than others, that they have women markets and women can go there. Others would need probably local NGOs or civil society organizations from women to be able to organize that. Can you maybe paint a picture from your perspective on what the situation is for women, civil society organizations and women's organizations in Afghanistan at this moment, especially when it comes to this building resilience of this particular group? I think that's the first step, because the second step of being able to really fully participate is, of course, now being made virtually impossible by the current government. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mali. And I also have the chair of the Parliament's delegation to Afghanistan, Madam Raquel, who wants to also to ask some questions. Please, Raquel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the presentation and sharing the information with us. I understand that the situation on the ground is quite chaotic, which might lead to conflicting reports over the situation. So we acknowledge the possibility from the European Parliament. So thank you for pointing that out. My question is very much directed to your contacts with member states of the European Union and their ministries for humanitarian aid. You mentioned that a lot of the donors have scrapped or reduced their aid budgets, and that is one of the main reasons why the situation is worsening on the ground. So I was wondering if you see any positive developments in your contacts with donor countries, not the European Union as a whole, but donor countries, and what could we do from this Parliament in order to help that process? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raquel. And myself, I also have some questions. If you bear with me, Madam Chimuka, one of them being that, women are often the first respondents in a humanitarian crisis because they are the ones who are, carrying the weight of family survival. And how is the situation when it comes to meeting that first responding female in Afghanistan, with all of these limitations and crackdowns on women's rights and them not being able to be in public areas, but also prohibiting women, banning women from being in workplaces? How do you think that this will develop further on? Do you see any indications for possible worsening of the situation when it comes to meeting the first responders? And my second question is, when it comes to persons with a disability, do you have any reports on their situation, being when it comes to nutrition and food scarcity or accessibility to nutrition and food? And my third question is, because you spoke about the persons the children who are already in the zone of malnutrition, are there any deaths? Are you aware of that? Do we have any numbers? If not, are there any risk analysis with numbers about what the death tolls can be? Thank you very much. Okay, and if you, Madam Chimuka, if you could just to think about these questions for a short while, I would like to give the floor to the representatives from the Commission, DG ECHO, Head of Unit, Mrs. Valentina De Bernardi, to walk us through their contributions to this discussion and what we can cooperate on furthermore. Where is she? Oh, there.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Welcome to the committee, Mrs. Bernardi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll try not to be too long also because the briefing was very, extensive. The earthquake in Afghanistan, as you have certainly understood, is striking communities already grappling with a complex humanitarian crisis. And this is happening in a region which is traditionally affected by flooding, widespread poverty, but also decades of armed conflict. And we are at the border with Pakistan, so this massive return of Afghans is also part of the picture. So when we compound this with this severe scale down on funding, and I'm looking particularly at humanitarian funding now, you see that the situation is extremely concerning for us. I give you some figures. In 2022, a peak year after the Taliban took over, humanitarian aid was around 3.8 billion in Afghanistan. So this year we are down to 789 million. So you see, and the needs have not reduced. This is limiting the scale, the capacities, and the speed of humanitarian actors on the ground, all of them. And the US humanitarian cuts had the most dramatic impact because USAID was contributing to about 45% of all humanitarian response in the country last year.
Madam Bernardi, if I just may to ask you to slow down a bit because our translators are not catching up.
Sorry. So I was saying, if you look at USAID contribution last year, they were contributing about 45% of the entire humanitarian response in Afghanistan. In numbers, roughly $660 million. This has disappeared. If we look at the direct impact of US funding cuts on the response to the earthquake, we could be probably narrow-minded because this direct impact is limited, meaning one of the main funding streams for the response is the Afghanistan Humanitarian Fund. And USAID has never funded the Afghanistan Humanitarian Fund. On top of that, our team on the ground, DG ECHO team in Kabul and in the area of the earthquake, assessed that most of the health facilities in the areas affected by the earthquake are actually supported by the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. However, if we look at the indirect impact of the US funding cuts, then the scale is completely different. It's very hard to quantify, but the consequences are huge. These cuts have severely affected the humanitarian community capacity to address existing needs across the entire countries, and even more. And the earthquake has made the effect of such cuts extremely visible. Many international organizations have now downsized their footprint, their activities, staffing, and creating major service gaps. I give you two numbers. Since the beginning of the year, over 400 health centers have closed, and 2 million people have no longer access to basic health care. Similarly, we were talking about malnutrition. Over 300 nutritional centers have stopped operating. This is affecting, in particular, communities in remote areas. When it comes to the earthquake, this also means that treating injuries and addressing secondary effects of the earthquake, like infection and trauma, will be extremely complex. And if we actually look at the wider picture, you will see that the recovery phase will be even more complex, because there the US funding was having a major impact. So reconstruction of housing, restoring of livelihoods, will be slower or, at best, only partially ensured. And people will be left in remote regions with very little choice but to move in search of basic services. From our side, we try to respond swiftly. In the immediate aftermath of the earthquake, we activated all available emergency tools. We made available 1.5 million euro in emergency assistance, partly to partners already on the ground, and partly to the IFRC Disaster Relief Emergency Fund. In addition to that, we also organized immediately 2 EU-funded humanitarian flights in partnership with UNICEF, with 130 tons of EU relief supplies. 4 additional flights are being finalized this week, and in total we will deliver 450 metric tons of relief items and shelter winterization materials, exactly because winter is coming and needs are just going to increase. The value of this assistance and the items transported is around 3.5 million euro. Finally, we are deploying an emergency medical team composed by specialized physiotherapists to provide trauma care for survivors. And this is on top of the annual allocation on humanitarian funding for Afghanistan, which this year is over 160 million euro, only for Afghanistan and Afghans in country, not on the wider region.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bernandi. And I will go back to Madame Chimuka. You have the floor for 3 more minutes to give us some answers, because the committee meeting will end at 17 sharp. And I'm sorry I mismanaged the time, but it was so interesting to listen to you. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay. No, thank you so much for those additional questions. So, reaching women. So our principle, as with many partners in Afghanistan, is that we reach women with women. So we have women staff who are either WFP staff or partner staff who, for example, are there at the nutrition clinics. So our policy has been to reach women through women. When it comes to, we always have challenges in Afghanistan, as you would expect. We have very good discussions, negotiations sometimes with local authorities, because Afghanistan is also varied. Something happening in one place is not happening in another place. So we've negotiated things like, for example, women come and get their assistance on one day, and the men get it on the other day. So we are reaching women, and we also work with a number of Afghan NGOs, Afghan women-led NGOs, and who have the ability still to move around. So I think they are a partner that we need to work more with, building on their capacity as Afghans who know Afghanistan even better. On disability, I don't have at the moment specific numbers of the people we're reaching who are physically challenged, but we do have a lot of our beneficiaries that are physically challenged. Some of them who have lost limbs because of the conflict in the past. So when you go to distribution sites, you do see a number of people who are physically challenged. On nutrition and the impact. At the moment, what we are seeing is an increased number of admissions. So from our data, we are seeing between January to August last year and this time 2025, an increase of about 13% of people being admitted into the health nutrition programs. So the situation is getting worse. Right now, we don't have those numbers on deaths, but we are concerned that going forward, this is something that is a real possibility if we're not able to provide assistance. And what we're seeing is that the mother's nutrition status is actually even worse than those of their children, which means it's the mothers who are sacrificing and eating less than what they have so that their children can have at least the little that they have. There's definitely a big concern in the earthquake zone of insecurity, which is an issue in many parts of Afghanistan, but the east is particularly more vulnerable, and it's really a concern for us, and that's why I had mentioned earlier that it's important that there is assistance for people in the immediate, but also in the long term, so that they don't get tempted by extremist groups, which would cause more instability in Afghanistan, which we really are really worried about and don't want that to happen. But right now, the concern is real. As I had mentioned, more than 2 million people have come in from Pakistan and Iran, and also some from Tajikistan. And this means that there is like little money in the communities because those who were living abroad were able to send money home. People could take care of their basic needs, food and others. But now this is lost. So it's really of a huge concern for us. And we are humanitarians, but we work in the real world. We understand the political dimensions, but it does need definitely high-level political discussion to see how these challenges of insecurity can be dealt with, as well as the issues of human rights.
Thank you very much, Madam Chimuka, for your answers. Indeed, we need a very deep political discussion. And I would like also to invite, it just has come to my knowledge, that we have Madam Simona Schelde here, team leader from INPA. It's very good to have you here. I'm sorry I did not give you the floor earlier, but I was just made aware of your presence. Very honored to have you here. Please, the floor is yours for 2 minutes so we can, it is very important for us to also get your perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, honorable participants. Indeed, as we touched about on the humanitarian development nexus, I would find it really very important that we could quickly also address the development side of the house, what we are doing. Indeed, our principled approach remains our baseline. We support basic needs and livelihoods assistance, but only where women can meaningfully participate in the delivery of the assistance and remain beneficiaries in a by women, for women spirit. A recent INPA mission confirmed that such principled EU support continues to definitely reach beneficiaries, especially women, even in an increasingly challenging context, demonstrating the effectiveness of value of this approach. Further EU-supported areas where the US funding has been withdrawn will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. Where it serves our strategic interests and upholds EU values, we can step in, as we did in 2024, when we bridged the funding shortfall for UN Women to sustain Afghan women's organizations. Any decision to fill gaps in US funding will, however, focus on areas that safeguard EU interests, notably migration, security, and stability. At the same time, we continue to press for the lifting of restrictions against women and girls, and we engage at technical level with the de facto authorities to underline Afghanistan's international obligations, in particular the right of girls to education and the need for partners to operate without restrictions. Looking forward, our 2025 support package will build on results achieved over the past 3 years. It will prioritize livelihood support with a focus on economic stabilization and community resilience as the most realistic path to stability, especially insofar as there is no ban for women in the private sector. We are obviously talking about medium, micro, small enterprises. Under community resilience, we will help local communities to prepare for climate change and disaster risks, supporting disaster preparedness, climate-smart agriculture, natural resource management and awareness training, so that communities are better equipped to respond to such crises in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Schelde, for your intervention and also the reassurances of our commitments to the values that we share. I would like to thank all participants, dear MEPs, dear guests from both DGs, ECHO and INPA, and of course to our guest of honor, Madam Chimuka, for being with us from Afghanistan. Thank you for enriching the debate. Thank you, colleagues, staff, and secretariat. Thank you so much. We will like to, I would like to ask if there is any other business. Well, any other business? There is nothing that has been raised. Anyone? No, nothing here. No. Okay. So our next item is the next meeting. That is on the 16th of October, 2025. Still at 9 o'clock to 13 hours
And we
in
still
Brussels.
have a joint meeting tonight.
And we
starting
have, of
at-
course, we have in just a few minutes, I think, yeah?
Yeah, in another room.
In another room, 3G3, there will be a joint committee meeting on public health with the committee Sant and DEVE, and we will further discuss the impact of USAID interventions and defunding on pandemic preparedness and mortality in the world. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much.